The first SGRIK Admiral Vexner of the Vacrian Empire stood before the grand viewport of his flagship, the Eternal Dominance, watching the swirling colors of hyperspace streak past. His 4 eyes gleamed with satisfaction as he reviewed the mission parameters on his wrist display. Behind him, the bridge crew worked in disciplined silence, their crystalline hands moving across holographic controls. 50 warships to subjugate a single human colony, he mused aloud, his translator converting his clicking language into standard galactic speech. The High Command is being remarkably generous. His second officer, a younger Vacrian with darker exoskeleton plating, approached cautiously. Admiral, some in the fleet question whether this display of force is necessary. The humans have been part of galactic society for only 30 standard years. They possess perhaps 24 combat-capable vessels total. Vexner's mandibles spread in what passed for a Vacrian smile. That is precisely why we do this, Krell. For 3,000 years, the Vacrian Empire has maintained order through demonstrated superiority. When a new species joins the galactic community, they must understand their place. The humans have been too confident, too independent. They refused our protection treaty last cycle. This colony, New Horizon, will serve as an object lesson. The flagship shuddered as it dropped from hyperspace, and the viewport suddenly filled with stars. Before them hung New Horizon, a modest agricultural world with a population of merely 2 million humans. Orbital platforms glinted in the light of the system's yellow star civilian structures. Nothing more. All ships, assume attack formation Theta 7, Vexner commanded. Target the orbital platforms first. Minimal civilian casualties. We want them frightened, not martyred. 50 Vacrian warships, each 500 meters of battle-tested armor and devastating firepower, spread into a crescent formation. They had crushed rebellions on 100 worlds. They had broken species that had ruled the stars before humanity had discovered fire. Admiral, Krell said, his voice carrying an edge of uncertainty. I'm detecting 3 contacts emerging from behind the planet's moon. Vexner barely glanced at the tactical display. 3 ships? Are they evacuating civilians? Negative, sir. They're moving to intercept us. Transponders identify them as human military vessels. Destroyer class. A ripple of amusement spread through the bridge crew. 3 destroyers against 50 capital ships? The humans had sent their vessels on a suicide mission, perhaps to buy time for evacuation, or perhaps in some misguided display of bravery. Admirable, Vexner said, but futile. All weapons, prepared to... His words died as the tactical display erupted in warnings. The 3 human destroyers had opened fire, but not with conventional weapons. Brilliant lances of blue-white energy, far brighter than anything in the Vacrian arsenal, speared across space at impossible speeds. The relentless fury, a heavy cruiser on the formation's right flank, simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, shields raised and weapons charging. The next, its shields collapsed like tissue paper, and the beam punched through the hull, triggering a catastrophic reactor breach that vaporized the ship in a sphere of white-hot plasma. Shields up! All ships, evasive maneuvers. Vexner roared, his earlier confidence evaporating. But the human ships moved like nothing he'd ever seen. They didn't lumber through space like traditional warships. They danced. Microjumps, the tactical officer called them. Short-range quantum tunneling that let them appear, fire, and vanish before return fire could even be calculated that another Vacrian ship exploded. Then another. Return fire. Saturate their last known positions. Vexner commanded, gripping his command throne as the Eternal Dominance shook from a near miss. The Vacrian fleet unleashed a storm of missiles and energy weapons, filling space with deadly ordnance. But the human destroyers flickered in and out of reality like ghosts. their movements guided by predictive algorithms that seemed to know where Vacrian shots would be before they were fired. A fourth Vacrian ship, the Iron Resolve, managed to land a direct hit on one of the human vessels. Vexner watched the tactical display intently, waiting for the satisfying icon deletion that meant a kill. Instead, the human ship's shields rippled with iridescent energy and held firm. The destroyer rotated smoothly and returned fire, bisecting the Iron Resolve with surgical precision. "How strong are those shields?" Krell gasped. "That was a direct hit from a Siege-class plasma cannon." Vexner had no answer. In 20 minutes of combat, his fleet had been reduced to 37 ships. The humans had lost nothing. Not one vessel. Not even damaged shields that didn't regenerate almost instantly. Tactical analysis. He demanded. The tactical officer's voice trembled. "Admiral, their weapons are operating at energy levels 40% above our maximum theoretical output. Their shields are utilizing a regenerative matrix we can't identify. And their maneuverability, it defies our understanding of inertial compensation." A fifth ship exploded, then a sixth and seventh, in quick succession, as two human destroyers coordinated their fire with inhuman precision. "This is impossible," Vexner whispered. "They're a young species. They shouldn't have technology that exceeds ours by centuries." "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the lead human vessel," the communications officer announced. "Put it through." The viewport shifted, showing the interior of a human bridge. A female human sat in the command chair, her dark skin and calm expression somehow more terrifying than any roaring warlord. She wore a simple gray uniform with 4 golden stars on the collar. "I am Admiral Chun of the United Earth Defense Force," she said, her voice carrying an unsettling serenity. "You came to our colony with 50 ships, intending to subjugate our people through violence. We are defending our territory, as is our right under the Galactic Conventions. You have one opportunity to withdraw. Leave now, or we will continue until every ship in your fleet is destroyed." Vexner felt his pride overriding his growing fear. "You have 3 ships. We still have," he checked the display, his heart sinking, 32 vessels. "You cannot possibly—" 31 now," Admiral Chun interrupted as another Vacrian ship vanished from sensors. "Would you like to continue testing that theory?" The bridge of the Eternal Dominance fell silent. Vexner looked at his tactical display, watching his once mighty fleet dwindle in real time. Each Vacrian ship represented decades of construction, billions in resources, and crews of hundreds. The humans were dismantling his fleet like a child demolishing toy blocks. "Admiral," Krell said quietly, "we must retreat." We were wrong. About everything. Vexner's mandibles clicked in anguish, but he knew the truth. Pride had led them into a massacre. All ships, emergency hyperspace jump. Scatter pattern. Return to Imperial space. As the surviving Vacrian vessels powered their hyperdrives, Admiral Chun's face remained on the viewport. "Return to your empire," she said. "Tell them what happened here. Tell them that humanity will not be threatened, will not be subjugated, will not bow to force. And tell them," she leaned forward slightly, that what you saw today represents 3 of our destroyers. Nothing more." The implication hung in space like a physical weight. 3 destroyers had destroyed 2/3 of a Vacrian fleet. What did humanity have that they hadn't shown? "One more thing, Admiral Vexner," Chun added as his ship began to jump. "Leave us alone, or discover what else we have." The Eternal Dominance lurched into hyperspace, leaving behind the wreckage of Vacrian pride and the burning question that would soon shake the entire galaxy. If 3 human ships could do this, what could humanity's full military achieve? Behind them, New Horizon continued its peaceful orbit, unbothered and unarmed. And in the shadows of Earth's solar system, deep within asteroid fields and hidden moon bases, hundreds of other ships waited in silence, hoping they would never need to answer that question. Asterisk. The Truth UNV lead the Grand Council Chamber of the Vacrian Empire stretched over 200 meters in diameter. Its vaulted ceiling covered in luminescent crystals that had witnessed 3 millennia of imperial rule. Today, those crystals illuminated a scene of chaos. 37 ships destroyed by 3 human vessels. Supreme Commander Vex Wraith's voice echoed through the chamber, his 4 eyes blazing with barely contained fury. How am I to explain this to the territorial governors? To our subject species who pay tribute for our protection? Admiral Vexner stood in the center of the circular chamber, surrounded by the Empire's highest military minds. Holographic displays showed the humiliating defeat on repeat sleek human destroyers, flickering through space like phantoms, while Vacrian ships exploded in silent fury. The recordings don't lie. Supreme Commander, Vexner said, forcing his voice to remain steady. Their technology exceeds ours significantly. Their weapons, their shields, their tactical systems, all superior. I recommend we pursue diplomatic? Vexroth's roar silenced the murmuring council members. The Vacrian Empire does not negotiate from a position of weakness. We have ruled this sector for longer than most species have had spaceflight. We will assemble the Grand Armada. 500 warships. We will reduce their homeworld to ash and scatter the remnants of humanity across the void as a warning to all who would defy us. A wave of agreement rippled through the chamber. The council members, most of whom had never personally seen combat, nodded enthusiastically. To accept defeat from a species barely 3 decades into galactic society would undermine the very foundation of Vacrian dominance. But Supreme Commander, Vexner tried again. Admiral Chun's warning, she implied they have far more than 3 ships. If we attack Earth itself, then we shall discover the truth of her bluff, Vexwrath declared. Assemble the fleet. Plot course for the Sol system. In one cycle, the human question will be answered permanently. Vexner bowed, mandibles tight with dread. He had looked into Admiral Chun's eyes. That hadn't been a bluff. 3 weeks later, the largest military force the Vacrian Empire had assembled in 500 years dropped from hyperspace at the edge of humanity's home system. Admiral Krexthar, a decorated warrior who had conquered 14 species, stood aboard the super dreadnought Galaxy's Fist, surveying his armada with satisfaction. 500 warships, including 30 dreadnought-class vessels, each 3 times the size of the destroyers that had embarrassed Vexner. This wasn't a punitive expedition, it was annihilation. All ships advance to Earth orbit. Battle Formation Omega-1. Prepare orbital bombardment systems, Krexthar commanded. The armada began its inexorable advance toward the small blue world hanging peacefully in the distance. Earth looked utterly undefended, no orbital defense platforms visible, no fleet formation waiting, just a few civilian stations and communication satellites. Sensors. Report, Krexthar ordered. No significant military presence detected, Admiral. A few dozen civilian vessels in various orbits, some resource extraction operations on the Moon and Mars, but no warships. It appears the humans have evacuated their military assets. Krexthar's mandibles spread in a predatory grin. They show wisdom, at least. Perhaps some will survive to serve as every alarm on the bridge screamed at once. Admiral, energy signatures. Massive power spikes from everywhere. The tactical display exploded with contacts. What had appeared to be asteroids in the belt suddenly weren't asteroids anymore. Hidden stations throughout the system powered up, their stealth fields dropping to reveal weapons platforms that made Vacrian dreadnoughts look like children's toys. The moon itself split open along hidden seams, kilometer-long doors revealing shipyards carved into the lunar surface. And ships. So many ships. They poured from the moon's hidden docks, like a steel-tied destroyers, cruisers, battleships, and carriers. From Mars came more. From Jupiter's moons came more still. And from Earth's own oceans, massive vessels rose through the atmosphere, water cascading off hull plating that had rested on the seafloor. "Count," Krexthar demanded, his voice cracking. 100. 150. 200 vessels, Admiral. And thousands of smaller signatures drone ships, unmanned interceptors. They're everywhere. The human fleet moved with synchronized precision that seemed impossible for organic beings. They weren't scrambling to meet the Vacrian threat. They were executing a plan that had clearly been prepared long before the Vacrian armada had even entered the system. A transmission cut through the chaos. Admiral Chun appeared on the view screen, still calm, still seated in that same gray uniform. "Fleet Admiral Krexthar of the Vacrian Empire," she said. "You were warned. You were given the opportunity to leave humanity in peace. You chose to bring 500 ships to annihilate our homeworld and our people. So be it. Let me show you what we chose not to reveal at New Horizon." The human fleet opened fire. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries. The human weapons didn't just exceed Vacrian technology. They operated on principles the Vacrians didn't even understand. Phase displacement beams that ignored shields entirely. Quantum-entangled missiles that couldn't be jammed. And most terrifying of all, swarms of AI-controlled drones that learned and adapted in real time. Krexthar's first battle line, 50 heavy cruisers that had broken countless blockades, lasted 4 minutes. Their shields. We can't penetrate their shields. His weapons officer screamed. Then concentrate fire. 30 ships on one target. Krexthar ordered. They tried. 30 Vacrian vessels focused their combined firepower on a single human battleship. The quantum shield surrounding the human vessel rippled with iridescent colors, absorbing energy that should have vaporized a planet. The shield held. And while those 30 Vacrian ships concentrated their fire, 50 human vessels destroyed them one by one with surgical precision. "Admiral, the drones are targeting our engines specifically. They're trying to cripple us, not destroy us." Krexthar realized with horror that the humans weren't even fighting at full capacity. They were methodically disabling his fleet, leaving ships crippled but intact. They were making a statement. A Vacrian super dreadnought, the Immortal Wrath, managed to land a direct hit on a human carrier. For a brief moment, Krexthar felt hope. Then he watched as the human ship's hull seemed to flow like liquid metal, nano-repair systems reconstructing damaged sections in seconds. "What are they?" Someone whispered on the bridge. The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted 1 hour and 43 minutes. By the end, 472 Vacrian ships drifted in space, engines destroyed, weapons disabled, but crews mostly alive. Only the most heavily damaged. Vessels had been fully destroyed. The galaxy's fist remained, operational only because the humans allowed it. Admiral Chun's face appeared on every functional view screen. In the crippled Vacrian fleet. "Fleet Admiral Krexthar," she began. "Your empire came to our system with the intent to commit genocide. You sought to eliminate humanity as a message to the galaxy. Instead, you will carry a different message back to your people." Behind her, Krexthar could see the interior of her bridge, and on a large tactical display, he saw something that made his blood turn cold. The current battle was shown as a small engagement zone, but the map pulled back to reveal the full scope of Earth's defenses. Thousands of additional signatures filled the Sol system. Weapons platforms, hidden fleet elements, automated defense networks that hadn't even needed to activate. What they'd faced had been perhaps 20% of humanity's total military capacity. For 200 years, Admiral Chun continued, humanity has watched the galaxy. We've seen empires rise and fall. We've observed how new species are treated, subjugated, exploited, sometimes eliminated. We knew that when we revealed ourselves, we would need to be strong, not to conquer, but to ensure our survival. She stood, walking closer to the camera. Every resource from Earth, Mars, the asteroid belt, the outer moons, all of it has been dedicated to one purpose: ensuring that no alien empire could do to us what they've done to others. We built this fleet in secret. We advanced our technology through relentless research. We prepared for the day when someone would try to destroy us simply for existing. Krexthar felt his mandibles tremble. Your species? You've been preparing for war since you achieved spaceflight? No, Chun corrected. We've been preparing to prevent war through overwhelming defensive capability. We hoped you would see our strength at New Horizon and choose peace. You chose pride. You chose aggression. Now you will return to your empire with the truth. The view screen split, showing scenes throughout the Sol system. On Earth, massive cities thrived, billions of humans living in peace. On Mars, terraforming continued unabated. In the asteroid belt, mining operations processed resources. Life continued as if no battle had occurred. Tell the Vacrian Empire, and tell the entire galaxy, Chun said, her voice carrying absolute conviction, that humanity will never strike first, but we will always strike last. We do not seek to conquer. We do not desire subjugation of other species. We want only to be left alone to chart our own destiny. She gestured, and Krexthar felt his ship's engines power up, but not under his control. Asterisk. Your vessels are being tractored to the system's edge, Chun explained. Your crews are unharmed. Your ships can be repaired. You'll be provided with basic supplies and safe passage out of our space. Return to your empire, and never threaten humanity again. As the crippled Vacrian fleet was escorted to the system's boundary, Krexthar watched the human vessels return to their hidden bases. Moon doors closed, asteroid bases reactivated, stealth fields, underwater docks sealed. Within hours, the Sol system looked peaceful again, a sleeping giant that preferred to rest but could awaken with apocalyptic fury. News of the battle spread through the galaxy faster than hyperspace travel. The Vacrian Empire, humiliated but intact, withdrew from aggressive expansion. Other empires, some who had been plotting their own approaches to humanity, reconsidered everything. Within a standard year, 73 species requested formal diplomatic relations with Earth. 12 proposed defensive alliances. 3 confessed they had been planning attacks and now sought peace. The Galactic Council, which had once viewed humanity as inconsequential, offered Earth a permanent seat. Humanity accepted, but on their terms. They would participate in galactic affairs, share non-military technology, and contribute to interspecies cooperation. But their military capabilities would remain their own, and their borders would remain inviolate. In a final transmission broadcast across the galaxy, Admiral Chun stood not on a warship bridge, but in a garden on Earth. Flowers blooming behind her in gentle sunlight. To all species of the galaxy, she said, humanity extends our hand in friendship. We have shown our strength because we had to, because the universe is dangerous, and the unprepared do not survive. But strength is not our purpose. Peace is. She smiled, a genuine expression of hope. We built these weapons hoping to never use them. We trained for war, praying for peace. And now we offer the galaxy a choice. See us as equals. Work with us toward mutual prosperity. Or test us and discover that the sleeping giant of Sol defends itself absolutely. The transmission ended with an image of Earth from space, beautiful, blue, seemingly fragile. But now the galaxy knew the truth. Beneath that peaceful appearance lay the most advanced military force any single species had ever created, operated by beings who valued peace enough to build an unconquerable defense. Humanity had been underestimated. That mistake would never be made again. And in the depths of human space, in shipyards still secret and stations still hidden, construction continued. Not for conquest, but for assurance. The galaxy had learned one lesson. Humanity wanted to make absolutely certain they would never need to teach it twice. The end asterisk.